Okay, here we are at part 2. We've got Tunngle installed, and we've restarted our computer, so now we're ready to start configuring our computer and Tunngle so we can start playing some games online. So, what we're going to have to do first is we're going to have to configure some settings on our router. If you don't know how to get to your router, then look in your manual for your router, or talk to the person that set up your network. But default IP address for your router, at least for mine, is 192.168.1.1, and a lot of routers have that IP address as default. But if you've changed it or somebody's changed it, then you'll have to talk to whoever's changed it, or it might be different for you. So we're just gonna go under our router and we're gonna look for port forwarding. I'm already under the port forwarding tab, and I am under Universal Plug and Play, or UPnP, and we want to make sure that it's enabled on the router. And most routers nowadays have Universal Plug and Play, so you shouldn't have a problem with that unless you have a really old router. Right here it says UPnP service, and I've got it enabled. So then you just go down and hit apply. If you don't have Universal Plug and Play, then you'll have to manually port forward. You would need a UDP port open, and the port number is 11155, and you just port forward that to your computer. But I'm not going to get into manually port forwarding because it can be different for your computer and your router, because mine is not the same as everybody. So we've got a router set up. Just make sure you got Universal Plug and Play enabled, and you're all set to go on your router. Just hit apply settings, or whatever yours says for apply, and then just exit. Okay, so our router's set up. Now for a firewall. If you're using Windows Firewall, I'm going to show you that real quick. It's really easy to set up. So the first time you start up Tunngle, it might ask you if you want to allow this program. Just click allow. But I've already run Tunngle before, so it's not going to ask me. But go to your Windows Firewall, go to exceptions, and keep scrolling down. As you can see, I've already got the Tunngle client and Tunngle service in my exceptions for my firewall, so it won't ask me every time. Now what we're looking for is Universal Plug and Play Framework, or UPnP framework. And by default it's unchecked. You need to make sure it's checked, because some games use this to access Universal Plug and Play on your router, and I believe Tunngle requires this to be enabled. So that will allow the firewall to enable Universal Plug and Play framework. So go ahead and make sure that's checked and hit OK. If you're using a add-on firewall, if they have an exceptions tab, I don't know, depending on your firewall, you need to make sure Universal Plug and Play is enabled on your firewall. And if you don't know where to get it, or it's not enabled on your firewall, then I recommend just using Windows Firewall while you're playing Tunngle Beta. What you can do is you can just disable that firewall and just switch to Windows Firewall, and then just enable Universal Plug and Play there. So I'm not going to get into add-on firewalls because they're all different depending on which one you have, but I've always used Windows Firewall and I've never had a problem. So okay, so we've got our router and our firewall. They're both enabled for Universal Plug and Play. So now we're going to start up Tunngle. Now, normally the first time you start up Tunngle, it may ask you if you want to allow this program. Your firewall will come up, and you just click allow. Now, I've already run Tunngle, so it's not going to ask. But I'm not going to let you see my password here, so let's hide that. And it could take, a couple minutes the first time it starts, because it's port forwarding and connecting the adapter and everything. So. And it says Tunngle is now connected, 10 Mbps. Okay, here we are. Now we're going to go to System, and we're going to go to Options. Okay, and if you're manually port forwarding on your router, that's your port number right there. So I already told you it was 11155, but if you forgot what it was, it's right there. So, but I'm using Universal Plug and Play, so you have to tell Tunngle to use Universal Plug and Play because it doesn't do it by default. So go ahead and make sure use Universal Plug and Play is enabled. Go ahead and hit apply, and we need to restart Tunngle. So we just exit Tunngle and start it back up. Okay. And now it will say attempting UPnP port forward. So now it's port forwarding automatically for you, so you don't have to do anything. So okay. Here it comes. Okay. We got Tunngle set up. Now we're all set to go. Now we're gonna pick the game we want. Now how Tunngle works is it works like any game that you've played on local area network, LAN feature. So if your game has LAN feature in it, then it should be supported by Tunngle. So that's pretty easy. So we're just gonna go ahead and search a game. We're gonna go ahead and hit Splinter Cell. You just type in Splinter Cell in your search bar and hit the enter button. And here are the Splinter Cells that are multiplayer. There's only 3 that are multiplayer, so there's only 3 here. So you got Chaos Theory, Chaos Theory Versus. Regular Chaos Theory is your co-op. I got Conviction, Double Agent, and okay. So what we're gonna do is, if you find the game that you're looking for, you just double-click it, and it's gonna connect to the server for this game. Okay. So this shows a list of players here. Okay, so now that we've connected to our Splinter Cell Chaos Theory room, we got a little bit of information down here. This shows who you're logged in as, and this shows your virtual IP address. This is not your real IP address, so this is for security reasons that it doesn't use your real IP. So it uses a virtual IP address. So you can give this to people and you won't get hacked because it's not your real IP address. So now how we're going to play this game is you just start up Chaos Theory and you just go to co-op or versus, whichever you want to do, and just play it like you would a local area network game. You just go to local area network and you just start joining or hosting, whichever. So that's how that works. Okay, so let's say okay, here we go. Midtown Madness 2. There's nobody playing, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to host with this. It's very easy. So okay, you've got this. So we've got our Midtown Madness 2 room open. Now you need to make sure you don't exit Tunngle while you're playing because you will lose connection. So what you're going to do is, now that we're in our room, we're just going to go ahead and start up Midtown Madness 2. Oops, I got the yard screen. Oh, okay. We're going to start Midtown Madness 2. Okay. So this, you just play it like you would any local area network game. It's very easy. So once you hit the screen, just like any other game, you go to multiplayer. Just wait for that to load up. TCP/IP, and of course I want to change my name. Now you can do host or join. Now if you're going to join, you just click. Now you may need to enter their virtual IP address. You can just ask the person for their virtual IP address, type it in there and hit done. But if you don't have an IP address, you can just leave it blank and hit done, and it'll search for games automatically. So anybody that's hosting on there, it will pop up here if they've hosted correctly. To host the game, you just click obviously host, and let's get this started. Okay, you may want to assign a password to keep other people out, so we'll just type in password as our password. You can change the maximum amount of players and hit done. And now you're in the game lobby, so you just wait for people to join, and then you just start your game. So that's how you host a game, and you can join a game, you know, fairly easy, just like you would any local area network game. Very, very easy. So that's how you get Tunngle set up. I think that's probably about it. Exit that. This is still the beta edition, so there are still some things that are not working properly. For instance, the personal message system does not yet work fully. It works some of the time, but not completely. Your friends list, you can add people to your friends list. You can bookmark things, you know, add to bookmarks, so you can come back to that game anytime. Also, if you don't know what game you want to look for, you could just do it by the type of game you're looking for, like a shooter, a strategy, action, RPG, sports, miscellaneous, you know, board game, simulation. They've got a whole bunch of categories here, so we're just going to go ahead and click shooter, because those are really fun. So, and you can see who's hosting what. I always click this button twice, and that shows maximum amount of players on this game. So as you can see, the most players is Dead Island. So there's 80 people playing Dead Island, so you just join it, start up Dead Island, and just join it like you would a local area network game. Now, like with local area network games, doesn't require product keys. So if you have more than one if you only have one copy of the game, but you want to play it with somebody else in your house, you can use Tunngle. So you won't have to buy an extra product key. You can do Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Vegas 2. You know, you got a couple pages here. You just keep on scrolling through, and you can see they've got a lot of games here. Tunngle probably supports the most games on the internet. So then you got strategy. As you can see, there's tons of strategy games. Action, really nice. They even support Minecraft, which is really fun. Got Grand Theft Auto. You know, pretty much most of the popular games are on Tunngle. And actually, there are some games here that I've never heard of, so I might give those a try someday. But that is pretty much how you get Tunngle up and running. So if you have any questions, just leave a comment in the box below. And if you like this video, thumbs up. And please subscribe. Thank you.